Hey, Slowheads. It's been a while. I know I did a live the other night, Friday night, I think it was. So y'all know that I have got a CNC machine, well, parts for one, to build one. And so that's what I'm doing in this video, going through. It's gonna have to be kind of like a series, part 1, 2, 3. I don't know how long it'll take, but so today, Sunday evening, I'm just getting started with that, putting some of the pieces together, and I just hope y'all enjoy. Hopefully it leads to, you know, bigger and better things for slot cars. I hope y'all enjoy it. Here we go. So here I'm assembling the core assembly. It's takes 6 M5 nuts that I'm going to insert into the little slots there. They were kind of a pain in the butt to keep in there. They recommended putting a little super glue or something to kind of hold them in there, which I did. And then I'm putting on the bearings here, the 608 2RS bearings, right? Basically like skateboard bearings. And then I tighten them down. I end up tightening them too much. They actually said to keep them loose because they have to go, they slide on a piece of conduit. So they said to actually keep them loose so that you can adjust it and whatnot. So I'm continuing here to put on all the bearings. You got some at the top and some at the bottom so that it can slide or roll back and forth. It's pretty interesting putting the stuff in there. The fit was pretty secure with everything. As you'll see on some of the other stuff, you know, I'm hitting it with stuff, trying to get everything to go in there just right. But once it's all in there, all the bearings roll pretty smooth, and it's pretty nice. So I'm getting ready here, getting the wires ready for the micro switch. It's the kind of like the home switch. It'll hit it, or a limit switch, whatever you want to call it. It'll use it to know where to stop and also to know where its home is. So there's several that get put on this for the ZX and the Y. I didn't really like the wires and the connectors that they use, but I mean, it's kind of like a basic kit. You can go, if you want to upgrade and add better switches, better wires and connectors, you know, you can do that. And so I plan on doing it, but as you know, for right this second, getting it built, getting it put together and operational and start testing and learning how to use it, you know, this stuff will be fine. But I do have plans on upgrading some of the stuff. I'm going to have a box that all the CNC controller and the drivers and for the stepper motors and all that go in, e-stop and safety stuff. So even though it's at home, you know, at work in the industrial world, there's safety stops everywhere, or e-stops everywhere. So even at home, I still want to be able to have that just in case something happens. May not always save you, but it can save your machine. So it's good to have that stuff. I'm using my wife's iPad, and it has the instructions on it. I just noticed here that I was actually scuffing my wife's table, or our dinner table, which this table's been through the ringer. It's a pretty nice table and whatnot, but I'd like to redo it and redo the chairs. But yeah, I noticed that I was actually digging into it, you know, 3D printed parts. There's not really any sharp edges or anything on it, but I guess me putting pressure kind of messes up that varnish that's on the table there. So I think I noticed here that most of the stuff is just like a through hole, but then there's certain places where you actually have to use the screw to like tap the hole. You know, the hole's already drilled, but you use the screw to like tap the hole and to make its own threads. So it can be kind of a pain in the butt. So, but, you know, surprisingly with the kit, it's not, well, there's a lot, but there isn't a lot. I mean, I got, you know, as you'll see in this video, I got most, like all of these parts done. And then there's some other plates and stuff that go on. And then the conduit for the railing. And I mean, it's pretty much done at that point. I probably have another hour or so to go just for the main portion. I don't have my table built yet or anything, but it's really not that hard of a build. I think it's easier than building slot cars, or, you know, brass chassis slot cars anyway. So this is the X drive. It'll actually go on that the core that we just put together there. The LR core, Lowrider core is what they call it. And so it'll have the stepper motor there. And then we've got to put on the, what are those called? The idlers. So there's 2 idlers on there. And then the stepper motor itself has the pulley on it for the belt. And so you have to orientate that just right. It's got to be, I think, 1 to 2 millimeters from the base. And then once you put the idler, or not the idler, the stepper inside that housing, you have to look through it and make sure that your pulley and your idlers are aligned properly so it doesn't pull the belt one way or the other. And it recommends putting thread locker or Loctite. I didn't do that. I kind of just wanted to build it. It's not too hard to just add some of that later for those grub screws that hold that on. But I actually just put just a little drop of super glue on the end of that pulley where it goes onto the shaft. So it helps a little bit. So it takes a minute trying to get all these little screws in there. I'm pretty sure these were M3s that went in there for those. No, it was 2 M5s that hold the idlers on. And then I think what holds the stepper is M3s, I believe. Slow motion action going on there. So the that housing there is done. So then we take that core, lowrider core there, and we put that stepper housing onto it. And so that's going to control that, the LR, that piece, the big black piece there, and that stepper, it moves left to right. And then the router actually attaches to that, which I haven't put that part on. I actually don't put that part on this video, so, but it'll come on the next video. So we screw all the little screws in there. It was actually kind of a pain in the butt. I actually edited out the part where I added the 2 screws. I think it's 2 M5 screws that hold that stepper base onto the core, because I end up having to undo one side of the screws and then put the other side in, or take them both out, put one in first so that I could push it all the way in, or it wouldn't get past one of the other screws. So I don't know, maybe some engineering could have been a little bit better there. I mean, it was minor. It worked, but could have been a little bit better. Maybe those bolts or something could have been recessed. Might have made it a little bit better, but not a big deal. Made it work just fine. So as you can see there, looks like it's all
It looks pretty sweet. I mean, at this point, I was like, man, like this thing is already coming together. See, so those bolts that I'm putting in there, it was the lower one, I think, is the one that I had issues. No, maybe it was that top one. When I put that head in there, that bolt in there, the head hit the head on one of the other bolts there. It may have been on the bottom one. Minor, but it worked. Worked out fine. And in this, I'm using, basic stuff. I have a small hammer, but I can't remember if it was in the garage or in the slot car closet in there. So I had an adjustable wrench and a pair of pliers. And I used my little Cobalt hobby toolkit, another screwdriver, and some wire cutters and stuff for the wires. But I mean, just basic hand tools to put all this stuff together. Now, as far as the table that the CNC will actually sit on, there's a little more to that. You're going to have some... I mean, I guess you could probably get by with just a regular skill saw, circular saw or something. I mean, you could literally just put a piece of 4x8 MDF or plywood down and then bolt this thing down to that if you wanted to. You just got to make sure that it's flat. So you want that surface to be trammed to the CNC so that whatever you're cutting is going to be flat. Because if it's higher in one place and lower than the other, when you're carving, when you're cutting, it may go deeper in one section and not as deep in the other section. So it's important to be flat as possible. Now you can compensate for that, but what you have underneath is a spoil board. So if you do go through, you'll cut into the spoil board and not your main board, which would be your basically your CNC top. And so we're moving on to the side plate assemblies. So there's two of those, and two-stepper motors that go onto those. They just basically mirror each other, and they'll go on either side of the assembly. These will be the Z drives, so it'll move Z. So you have your Z, your Y, and your X. And that's the same way that like a FDM regular 3D printer, it runs on X, Y, and Z as well. Now a resin printer just operates on, I believe it's Z, which is up and down. I think it's Z. I get them mixed up sometimes. So putting this together, I mean, like I said, it's mirrored. It's not nothing crazy to it. I just wanted to do, a simple video on how to do this so that maybe other people would want to maybe take the step to build something like this. So the good thing about this is it's adjustable. So like I'm building a 4x8, but if you only wanted to build a 4x4 CNC table, you could. It's not, you just change the sizing of the conduit and you have a different size. And then they have a smaller version that you can mount on top of like a toolbox or, just a basic table, something small. You could, cut smaller things, but you can also make it huge if you wanted to. You have that option. And then they also have a 3D printer that's basically like this as well. So it's pretty cool stuff. And the pricing isn't bad. I mean, it's for what it is and what it's capable of doing. I mean, it's amazing. Amazing the things that you can do. Yeah, so Z, you have Z positive, Z negative. So Z positive is up, Z negative is down. You have X negative, X positive, left and right, Y positive, Y negative, front to back. So just a little clarification on that. And what I'm actually putting together here on this one is the Y drives. So there's two of those, and they're also mirrored. They get the idlers, and then the stepper gets the pulley. And I did the same thing where I didn't use any Loctite. I just put a dab of super glue right on the end of it for the time being. And I made sure the alignment was right. And then you put your two more limit switches, one per, on these, which again, the switch itself isn't horrible. It's just the cheap insulated, basically butt connectors with the spade on the other end to connect to that switch. I don't like that. I'd prefer to use the non-insulated and get the actual crimpers for it and put heat shrink over it, and it would look a lot better, look more professional. And then everything will also get put in loom too, so you won't be able to see a lot of it. So here's what I had finished. I think it looks freaking great. I was proud of myself for getting this far. I'm actually building a CNC machine. Damn.